guys? Welcome back. How's it going? Hold My Helmet Football Podcast. Will Reichling, your host here. It's been a little while. Been a little bit. Since the Super Bowl, I did my reaction. Took a little break. Went to India for a supplier trip for my work. And I moved into a new home. So I had a little bit of stuff going on here and there. But we're back. NFL free agency. Almost in the books. We got two quarterbacks that haven't been signed yet. And I think that's the biggest story out of all this. Not the free agency signings that have happened so far. The two quarterbacks that haven't been signed so far. That's the biggest story of them all. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. New York Jets. You look at his numbers last year. Even I have friends that are Jets fans. I mean, I'm from New York. I'm a Jets fan myself. I have friends that are telling me, Aaron Rodgers was good last year. He threw 28 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, looked good, higher completion percentage. But when you watch the games, he wasn't good. He was a check down merchant. There was about 3 or 4 times where he had the opportunity to have a game-winning drive and win the game for the Jets, and he shit the bed. There was one time, I think, on one of those game-winning drives where he had a huge intentional grounding at the end on like third down. So he had multiple times to win games for the Jets, and he just could not do it. He couldn't do it, and the numbers look good. I will admit that. The numbers looked okay. It's like the third best season in Jets quarterback history. But that's not setting the bar that high. If you watch the games, he was not that good. He had a career low or second to lowest yards per attempt. He was checking down all the time. Look at half his touchdowns. Half his touchdowns were not on him. It was on the receiver or the running back who caught the ball out of the backfield. Very easy throws on those touchdowns. I mean, he had a couple. Like the Jaguars game, he went off. Patriots game, he was really good. He had some good games in there. Second half of the season, he was much better. But it wasn't, and I think GMs know this, it wasn't what we thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be. I mean, he's a top 7 quarterback of all time. He played maybe the 17th, 18th best quarterback. And the people that want to argue that his stats were better than Josh Allen, watch the games. Watch the games, because there's a reason the Jets went 5-12, and there's a reason the Bills went, 13-4? 12-5, 13-4. So there's a reason. You want to compare his numbers to the Josh Allen's. Rodgers used to move around a little bit. Can't move at all anymore. Can't move. You see him when there's pressure, specifically up the middle. Center guard, right up the middle. He's like doing this with his hand. He's like trying to push out his lineman to block better. But he's not. Old Rodgers used to roll out, throw a dart down the sideline, 25 yards down the field. That's not Rodgers anymore. It isn't. And that was one of his biggest strengths. So I think the biggest story here, the fact that, Sam Darnold got signed, Geno Smith got traded for, Justin Fields got signed by the Jets. Daniel Jones got signed by the Colts. The Colts preferred Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Now, they still believe in Anthony Richardson, so there's a little bit of a different play in there. But it just shows, teams don't think Aaron Rodgers is a win-now quarterback anymore. The fact that Pittsburgh hasn't signed him by now tells it all. How has he not been signed by Pittsburgh? They let Justin Fields go to the Jets. They have not signed Russell Wilson yet. Clearly, they want Rodgers. They like him, but they don't love him. And these are the reasons why, what I just listed. You have all that, the performance on the field, and on top of that, the stuff off the field. So now his talent doesn't outweigh the negatives off the field anymore. When he was a top 3 quarterback in the league, winning back-to-back MVPs, yeah, you'll tolerate some of the bullshit like the ayahuasca shit off the field and not attending minicamp and OTAs. You'll deal with that if you're going to be 1 seed, 2 seed in the divisional round every single year. But when you're going 5-12, goodbye. That's why Aaron Glenn, I was for the Jets keeping him, and I was also for the Jets getting rid of him. I just wanted it to be Aaron Glenn's decision. I wanted it to be his decision and not Woody Johnson getting in the way. And Woody Johnson did say, I give him props here because I've been shitting on him for a long time, that I'm willing to step aside and let the new GM from the Broncos, and Aaron Glenn do their job. And it seems like he's doing that because they let Rodgers walk. I mean, they cut him. So I like that. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he's still a top 20 quarterback. But he's not what he was. I mean, if you watch the games, Jet fans that actually watch the game from a third-person point of view, not like the Jet fan point of view, an actual critical point of view, he was not the same quarterback. And his numbers looked better than what was on the field. That's the reason he hasn't gotten signed yet, and his off-the-field antics outweighing His physical ability on the field is the reason he hasn't gotten signed yet. Similar situation to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, you don't hear as much as Aaron Rodgers, but Russell Wilson is also a pain off the field, specifically in the locker room. Mike Tomlin loved him, yes. But you had Richard Sherman, Marshawn Lynch. You had a lot of people on the Seahawks kind of complaining about the way Russell Wilson acted. And when he was a top 5 quarterback in the league, yes, that was accepted. But now, Russell Wilson 2 years ago on the Broncos, his final year on the Broncos, had a similar season to like what Aaron Rodgers had in the Jets. His numbers looked better than actually what was on the field. I think he threw like 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, 90-something pass rating. You look at that from a vacuum, you're like, oh, that's pretty good numbers. But he was a dink and dunk check down king. All he did was throw it short, throw it to the safe guy, did not push the ball down the field at all. And that's why the Broncos got rid of him. That's why the Broncos ate $85 million in dead cap money. So there's levels to this shit. It's not always face value. The numbers look good. Watch the games. Just watch the games because both of these guys, the talent used to outweigh the off-the-field antics. Now the off-the-field antics outweigh the talent. And that's what happens. And now, being two of the more talented quarterbacks in the free agency market, you're now the last two that haven't gotten signed yet. So 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said, if you would have asked me, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are free agents, and they are the last two that get signed, I would have been like, you're out of your goddamn mind. You're out of your mind. But here we are. They're also older. You got to take that into factor. But, Russell Wilson kind of fell off a cliff. I haven't seen a quarterback fall so hard ever. I don't think ever. Like 100 passer rating 4 years in a row in Seattle, and all of a sudden he comes to Denver, and he sucks. He was not the same. He's got the moon ball, and he was better in Pittsburgh. He had the moon ball going, but once he had cold weather, better teams, playoff teams that he had to face, he shit the bed. So, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, they'll get signed. It's either going to be Giants, Steelers, Giants, but just know that you're still out there for a reason, my friend. I think the biggest free agency signing of the entire offseason is the Seahawks trading Geno Smith for a third round pick, trading DK Metcalf for a second-round pick, and then going out and signing Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million, $55 million fully guaranteed. I think the Seahawks make great moves. Like I said, they traded DK Metcalf, who's he's never had less than 900 yards in the season. But this is probably the time, because he had a couple injuries last season. This is probably the time where he's going to start the peak and come slightly down the peak. He's going to have a great year this coming up year, the next year after that. But I think you traded him a great value, great market value. You drafted him for a second-round pick. You traded him for a second-round pick after 5 years of great production. That's a good move by Seattle right there. Also, they trade Geno Smith, who what did they sign for the league minimum as a backup for a couple of years ago? Then he goes out, yes, he had a 30-touchdown pass season. Last 2 years, a little shaky. He's a top 20 quarterback, but he's more 18, 19, 20 than 14, 15, 16. And you traded him for a third-round pick. You now acquire a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and you sign Sam Darnold, who I think is better than Geno Smith. Sam Darnold, yes, he only had one great year, but Geno Smith only had one great year. And I think Sam Darnold has more upside than Geno Smith. They're both mobile. I would say Geno Smith's he's faster than Darnold. He's more athletic. But Darnold can move too. And Darnold has a way better arm than Geno Smith. Way better. And he has better arm angles. He has better pocket presence. I think Sam Darnold has better upside than Geno Smith. I think Sam Darnold has more potential than Geno Smith. I think Sam Darnold has the chance to go out here and show, with losing DK Metcalf, losing Tyler Lockett, just with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe they draft the guy, maybe they don't. He's going to have a good year. He's going to have 25 touchdown passes, maybe 7, 8 picks, and the Seahawks are going to be viable for a playoff spot. Depending on who they draft, they might make the playoffs, they might not. But Sam Darnold's going to show that he's better than Geno Smith, because I really think he is. I think he has more upside. I think he's better right now, and I think Sam Darnold, you added a second, you added a third. Yes, you lost 2 receivers. You have to draft well. You have to go out there and draft well now, because you're kind of depleted at wide receiver. But you add Sam Darnold, who's an explosive playmaker, who showed it last year. And you have your 2 running backs. You have your tight end still. You have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's becoming a rising star in the league. He's a slot guy. You need to go get someone on the outside. He's a slot guy. But Sam Darnold, I think he's going to show that he could be a franchise guy. He's got a 3-year deal here. And he got paid. But I think the Vikings made a mistake. They should have brought him back. He shit the bed in those 2 games, the Lions game and the Rams game. He shit the bed. Can't deny that. I really can't. But I think throwing 30-plus touchdown passes, I mean, I think Seattle saw it firsthand when he had that big throw to Justin Jefferson on the sideline, getting hit for the game-winning touchdown. So, might be a little jaded here, but I think it's jaded in the right way. Mike McDonald saw Sam Darnold, and he's like, oh, shit, that guy's better than our guy. So, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get him. So, I think the Seahawks, sneaky playoff team here. I think they won 10 games last year. Yes, they lost their 2 best receivers. I'm going to keep saying that. But Jackson Smith and Jigba really started to step up. Kenneth Walker needs to stay healthy. But go out there, go get some more receivers. In the draft, they draft well. They drafted a couple linemen well. They drafted some defensive pieces well, some corners, a linebacker. They drafted Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. They know how to draft. So I'm very confident they're going to go out there and get another good receiver. Maybe bring in Cooper Kupp. I don't know. But Sam Darnold, I love in this situation. Because defensive head coach, yes. But he's a defensive guru. So the defensive side of the ball is going to be taken care of. So I really love Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. Great move by them. Once they traded Geno, I'm like, Sam Darnold to the Seahawks? And it happened like less than 24 hours after I thought that. So it's a perfect fit. It really is. Justin Fields. The New York Jets. If you would have told me a year ago, Aaron Rodgers gone, Justin Fields in, I would have told you you're crazy. You're crazy. This guy can't throw from the pocket. There's some slight upside there. He's an elite runner. We saw that a couple of years ago where he ran for like 1,000 yards. He could be elite as a runner from the pocket. It's a little bit of a high contract for my liking. It's a little high. $30 million fully guaranteed. But the Jets could opt out there if they're year one. So it's cheap for a starting quarterback. It's like the second cheapest contract in the league for a starter. So I'm not expecting much, but I'm positive. I'm optimistic. Aaron Glenn got rid of like the cancer in the locker room, so to say. I'm not going to blame Rodgers, but he took charge, and he's like, Justin Fields. Every locker room he's been in, Chicago, Pittsburgh, they love him. They love the guy. He's going to go out there. He's going to work. The Jets are probably going to win like 8, 9 games, miss the playoffs, maybe 7 games, miss the playoffs, but they're going to be respectable. They're going to like get back to normalcy because the last couple of years with Rodgers not having the quarterback, Zach Wilson, it's gotten a little crazy. So honestly, I'm a little optimistic here. This is a flyer on Justin Fields. There's been a lot of upside. I'm not crazy about how he throws from the pocket. There's a reason he went 4-2 and got benched. There's people wide open down the field, wide open on the sideline. He was either too scared to throw the ball or he just didn't see him. So there's a little bit of downside with Justin Fields, but like there's upside too. Roll out of the pocket, make big plays. He's got a big arm, so maybe you could develop him. You got Tanner Engstrom from the Lions, so offensive coordinator under Ben Johnson. Maybe he could like unlock something with Justin Fields. He sees something here with this guy. The Jets could be sneaky good this year, but they could also win 5 games. So you never know. But I don't hate this move. Let's put it that way. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Davante Adams signing with the Rams, 2 years, $46 million, $26 million fully guaranteed. They extend Max Stafford. They restructure his deal. They get that worked out. So now you restructure Max Stafford's deal. You add Davante Adams. You replace Cooper Kupp for Davante Adams, and you have a defense that's young and feisty. You had a bunch of worthy draft picks last year. Fisk, what's his name? Jared Verse, how did I forget him? You added a lot of pieces. Go out there, get a corner this year. The Rams are Super Bowl contenders. They really are. They are Super Bowl contenders. You had Davante Adams. You still have Puka Nacua. That's scary. Kyron Williams, oh my God. Who does he throw the ball to now? Davante or Puka? Because he's already set NFL records with Cooper Kupp he set records with Cooper Kupp as his receiver. Calvin Johnson set records. Puka Nacua set rookie records. Now you have Davante Adams. Later in his career, given, but a red zone threat. An absolute red zone threat. Puka Nacua, great with yards after the catch. Davante Adams, great with his route running. Match made in heaven right here. I think the Rams have the potential. I think the Rams are going to win the NFC West. You have the Niners who cut so many players. You have the Seahawks, who, yeah, they added Darnold, but they lost receivers. You don't really know where they're going to be. The Cardinals, we don't know what they are. The Rams are set to win the NFC West. They could be the 2 seed or even the 1 seed. The Rams, this is their year. You have 1-2 years left with Stafford, who's a little bit old and withered. Yes, he's still got a great arm, but he gets hurt a lot. So I think the time for the Rams is to win now. So the NFC West, you might as well lock in the Rams, barring injury. But watch out for them to compete with the Lions and the Eagles. It's going to come down to the Eagles, Lions, and Rams. Those 3 teams. But the Rams are in that group now. Like I said before, DK Metcalf to the Steelers. The Seahawks get a second-round pick, and the Steelers extended DK Metcalf and signed him to a 4-year, $132 million extension. You get a little bit of a weird fit there because you don't have a quarterback. You have George Pickens, who's a head case, absolute head case. You don't really know if he's number one. Goes off a couple games, then disappears for a couple games. But then you add DK Metcalf, who had a big neck injury coming out of college, still a second-round pick, was an athletic freak. That size, running that speed, complete freak. And he's never had a season less than 900 receiving yards. Rookie season had over 900. Even last year, I think he missed about 2 or 3 games, maybe more than that, had over 900 receiving yards. He's explosive. Yards after the catch, he's there. Pickens has the better hands. Metcalf has the better yards after catch. So you have a hands guy and a yards after catch guy. I actually think this is a good fit. People are kind of like shitting on this because Metcalf could be a head case. Pickens is definitely a head case. But I like the fit here. You have a possession guy, a yards after catch guy. You have a strength guy, a finesse guy. Even though Metcalf could be kind of both. But I like it. I like it. Depending who they sign, I like it. You have 2 options left. Russ and Rodgers. You sign Russ, okay. Russ with the moon ball. DK can run for a 90-yard touchdown. He's got the speed. You saw him catch Buda Baker. We still talk about that to this day. You sign Rodgers, pinpoint accuracy. Didn't really show much last year, but he still got the accuracy. Metcalf's going to have a big year regardless. I think Metcalf is the true one here, and Pickens is going to become the clear-cut 2. Maybe that affects Pickens. Maybe they trade him. But I still think it was good to go get DK Metcalf for a second-round pick. Other than Pickens, you didn't really have much of a wide receiver. You have Austin, but like Tavon Austin, like what does that really get you? I mean, now we're at the point where Metcalf, like I said, the peak. Maybe he's coming down from that peak. Maybe this is his best year yet. We don't know, but I think it was good for the Steelers to be aggressive. They were aggressive receiver. Now you have to figure out what your quarterback is. Is it Rodgers or is it Russ? It could come out after this, come out before this, but you're still waiting for the quarterback position to be decided. You have the Bengals, who are definitely going to be back and feisty this year. The Ravens, who are Lamar's MVP almost every year. And then even Cleveland. You never know what's going to happen in Cleveland. Good year, bad year. Good year, bad year. So Pittsburgh, make sure you get this, like Rodgers, Russ, a little bit of a difference in quarterback. So you got to make sure you get this right. Because I love you going to get DK Metcalf, even if it's for a 2, a little bit of a high pick. I love it because you're being aggressive. You're going out. You get a big-time playmaker. And DK Metcalf is a big-time playmaker. So make sure now you get the quarterback right. Whoever it is, Rodgers or Russ, make sure you get it right. The Washington Commanders, they're having a big offseason. They trade for Deebo and give up a 5th-round pick. They trade for Laremy Tunsil, so now they have a left tackle. They have another weapon. And remember, they were in the NFC Championship game with Jaden Daniels and a bunch of random guys. Now they have Deebo. If he stays healthy, look, Deebo is still a big-time playmaker. He's not what he once was. He's not going to be running for 10 carries and catching 5 passes, but he will have 2 or 3 explosive plays if you give him the ball and if he's healthy. Laremy Tunsil, he had a little bit of a fall-off last year, but he's still definitely a top 7 left tackle. So you add a left tackle, you add a weapon to a quarterback that we know. Look, the Commanders, people are saying this is very similar to the Texans. Very big rookie year from the rookie quarterback. They add some weapons. Will there be a regression? No. And I'll tell you why. Because Jaden Daniels he didn't just take the lead by storm. He was dominating. Other than the Eagles game, he showed that their offense was a catalyst, a weapon. Like, Jaden Daniels took the league by storm with ease. Like, he's Lamar Jackson at the NFC West. I call him Lamar Jackson Jr. Like, this isn't a fluke. This isn't like a one-time thing. This is a guy that's going to become a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm going to say that right now. I already think he's the 5th best quarterback in the league. And I already think if he keeps this up, he'll be one of the best ever. Like, absolutely. Look at the way he plays. Even if he doesn't gain any weight, his ability to throw from the pocket and run like he does, he's Lamar before Lamar became Lamar. He's Lamar with a better arm and more accurate from the pocket. That is scary. That's really scary. So the Commanders are going to be viable for a long time. They're trying to make a Super Bowl run like the Texans did last year, but the Texans had some injuries. CJ, I wouldn't even say he took a step back, but like the offensive line up the middle, center and guard wasn't the same. But the Commanders, this actually might, like, they have the Eagles in their division, so it's going to be tough, but like, this isn't like a fluke. This is a team that's going to be a playoff team for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So And they're loading up to be ready this year. So we're going to see what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting for sure. The Bengals, will they trade Tee Higgins? Will they won't? Will they sign him through a long-term deal, pay 2 receivers? They franchise tag him again. And I think we all knew that was the best option. Just franchise tag him, $26.2 million. This is the last time they could tag him, though. This is it. You either pay him or you let him walk. So let's say the Bengals start off 1-3, 1-4, 1-5 again. You're screwed. You're screwed because now you're going to lose Tee Higgins. Because are you really going to pay 2 wide receivers big-time money? You really need to shore up your defense. There's some pieces in the offensive line that's still questionable. You cannot have a complete team with 2 wide receivers making big-time money. Unless you draft really well like the Eagles. But you could be a team like Miami that doesn't draft really well. And you have 2 high-paid wide receivers. Look at their defense. Look at their offensive line. And look at the rest of their weapons. Not much. So, unless you draft like insanely well like the Eagles, this is kind of your make-or-break year. And I hope they add some pieces in the defense. They've improved a little bit in that end. I still didn't agree with getting rid of Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, because he showed with lesser talent a couple of years ago. He brought him to a Super Bowl. The defense was elite in the playoffs. And 1 year where you had nothing on defense, just Trey Hendrickson and a bunch of guys, you're going to let him go. Didn't agree with that, but sometimes you got to make a change. But if they start off slow again, watch out for Zach Taylor on the hot seat. Zach Taylor on the hot seat, watch out for that because you can't start off slow 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row. They missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Yeah, Burrow got hurt 1 year. But in the last year, they just started off way too slow. And yes, he was elite, but the defense couldn't hold a lick. So this is great. Yes, you signed Tee Higgins. You franchise tag him. And $26.2 million is a lot for a wide receiver. It's not like the most money in the league, but it's not the least by far. So you're kind of stuck in purgatory here. You have to make a run now. It's now or never for the Bengals because you're definitely paying Jamar Chase. I would pay Jamar Chase and not even let Tee Higgins walk. Maybe they still trade him. Honestly, the best thing probably would be the franchise tag him now and trade him because you could still get value for him. I guess let's not take that off the board yet because that could still happen. That could definitely still happen before the draft happens. The Raiders, I brought them up before, traded for Geno Smith, gave up a third-round pick. Usually I think that's crazy because Geno had one great year. After that, wasn't really much. But you align Pete Carroll and Geno Smith back together, different team, similar situation. I think they're going to right the ship a little bit. Not a playoff team, but 7-8-9 win team. I think this is going to be good for them. They get some viability back. They extend Max Crosby to a long-term deal. And look, Geno Smith, he's okay. He's not great. I don't think he's better than Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold has way more upside. You watch the games, you see that. But he does have some talent. He's got a bigger arm. He can move. Remember, he ran the fastest. He had the fastest miles per hour last offseason with the Seahawks. He's quick, and he has a good arm. So he can make some things happen. But don't think the Raiders are going to all of a sudden be a playoff team. But I do think that they're now going to be respectable. They're not going to be a laughingstock. The Jets, the Browns, the Jags, the Titans. They're going to be a respectable team. They're going to be competitive, especially in a tough division with Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Andy Reid. So I think there's a little bit of a bounce back for the Raiders. Nothing crazy, but this is a good move. You go out and get a viable quarterback, so I like that. Chicago Bears hire Ben Johnson. Also, this is definitely Ben Johnson's doing, with Ryan Poles, obviously, but all these big-time moves. They trade for Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. They trade for Jonah Jackson. They signed Drew Dahlman. So now they got 2 guards and a center who are good starters to borderline all-pro players. Guard, center, guard, you're good now. And what is the biggest struggle for a quarterback? A rookie quarterback, pressure up the middle. Now guard, center, guard, you took care of. It's all on Caleb Williams this year. It is all on Caleb Williams because you have the weapons, you have the receivers, you have the tight end, you have the running back. You have the offensive line now because they add Darnell Wright, the tackle, who looks like he's going to be a starter for the next 6-7 years. So now you have a solid line. It might not be the best in the league. Definitely not going to be the worst in the league. It's going to be a top half line in the league. All the pressure's on Caleb Williams now. Can you make it work? Because you have the weapons, you have the line. You have to be able to throw the ball from the pocket. Stop rolling out, stop hesitating, just make that timely throw. That's his biggest bugaboo. He had a lot of pressure, took a lot of sacks, but he ran into a lot of sacks because he held onto the ball too long. So there's a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams, and it's going to be a big moment if he's going to make a break with this new and improved offensive line. But you have to give props to Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles for going out there and putting in effort and emphasis to the offense. So let's see what happens. Other than that, look, I moved. I got a brand new condo, moved out of my parents' house. I'm living on my own now. Kind of a little bit of a similar setup in the podcast room, okay? So you got the same. I kind of brought my room to my new house. So my girlfriend kind of is a little mad at me about that. But I got the nice setup now. Maybe I got to adjust the lighting here and there. But hey, we have a long offseason. The draft's coming up. I'm going to give my draft stock and my rankings on the quarterback prospects. We have a lot of stuff. I mean, Rodgers and Wilson still haven't signed yet. So there's a lot to still happen. But I'm thankful to be in my new place, doing my podcast with all of you guys, loving and living it up. So thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks.